All right, we're starting out with a wide shot on these guys because they are really too big to fit into the shot with the room I've got here tonight. So, but there are the Predacons, Power of the Prime's Predaking. They are big animals. They're a little overly simplistic. We'll get into the details and such as we check them out. But listen, I said on Twitter the other day, they're a fun set that does some really neat stuff and then does some other stuff that makes me go, why would you do that? But yeah, so we'll get into it. Here's Torox, as he's called in the instructions. He's no longer Tantrum. Even though they have Decepticon Rampage trademarked, Torox, or Tantrum is now Torox. In the box, you get his big instruction manual. I think there's like 87 stickers on the sheet. Took me about an hour to get them all on. But looks good when all stickered up, but hoy. Yeah. And you also get, instead of a bunch of little trading cards, you get one giant, almost poster-sized Predaking trading card. And on the back, again, no specific powers. It just says Shapeshifter, Server of Life. You just get basically a rundown of the 12 primes. Now we know there's a 13th thanks to the San Diego Comic-Con Primal. Hopefully I will be able to secure one of those. That's the one thing I really want from Comic-Con this year. So we'll see what we can do about that. But anyway, that's not why we're here. We're going to talk about the Predacons, and we'll start off here with Torox. You can see he's got the Predaking foot on his back as a cannon, much like the old toys were capable of doing. There's a little piece that sticks out the side here. That's actually the ankle joint for Predaking, and the Predaking fists are stored inside of it as well. That just tabs on. There's like these little squares right here peg onto. You can plug it onto either side, and you can put either foot on either animal, but it pegs into these gold tabs on his feet. These are painted, so I wouldn't want to do it too much. You might end up scuffing that paint, but by the time you have, when you're playing with these figures, you may realize I don't really care because they are a little cheapy. They are big, however. There are some bulk. They still probably weigh about half what the old school Predaking did. That should be snapped in there. You see he's already starting to pop apart. Some of these guys are really cool. Razorclaw, I think, may be my favorite of this set, which is weird because my favorite's almost always been Dive Bomb, and this set has changed that. But here he is. He's a big bull of some sort. An ox. I'm not sure you can see his face there. It looks like he's got a pin here for his head for his jaw to open, but I have not found that to be the case. So I don't know what that pin just seems to be holding the top half of the two halves of the head together. A little misleading, I think. He does have all this undercarriage junk. It's actually kind of hidden pretty well by the legs. I mean, it's still visible, but it doesn't look as gross as it could here in Beast mode. But that is the leg and hip for Predaking. Like I said, there's some neat combination stuff going on. To transform him into a robot, we go flip up his little beastie legs here. Untab these. These will flip down. These will pull down to form his feet. The whole assembly with the leg comes around, and there's a little tab here on the red leg that tabs into the back of this. Same over here. To form his leg. His legs, this should be flat against his back. And also when you're going back to having this folded up, because this folds forward also inside here for the knee, it helps to fold this all the way flat first, so it's kind of sticking out this way, and then fold the whole thing down. Don't worry, I'll move the camera up here in just a second. So I've got him mostly standing here. The arms flip around from the side here and down, and then again up here and down. That's all there is to that. And then you just turn his head around, and there he is in robot mode. And it's a pretty impressive, again, solid, bulky, square robot mode. It's reminiscent of Predaking. Like I said, there's just some stuff that feels off with him, especially if you've played with any of the G1 reissues. They were die-cast and solid, and again, a little limited in posability. but just chunks. And these guys are still big chunks, but they're hollow, and you said you can see the legs, just kind of big gaps in here. Although, to be fair, they do a decent job of kind of hiding those gaps, unless you're looking at it from the thing, although you can kind of see right there through his leg. His head rotates on a swivel. He's got ball joint shoulders. He's got ball joints at the elbow. He does have a hinge there, but that's mostly for combined mode transformation. He's got dual action hips, side to side, front to back, thigh swivel, and a knee bend, although not super effective with this giant backpack. He does have some ankle tilt there as well. So there's Torox, and to get him into his limb mode, I'll go ahead and flip his beast head forward. Go ahead and take this up, lift this up, and then lift it further up here inside the thing. And you want to push this all the way up until it clicks. Make sure it comes all the way forward and straightens up. And this is what I was talking about when you're going back to animal mode or robot mode. Either one, it helps if you bend it at this joint first so it's completely straight, and then fold it down at this joint, because if you fold it down to this joint first, it can be a little hard to get that last click to engage, to sit flat against the back of the robot or the underside of the bull. So he does have a waist swivel too. Transform his legs back to their animal mode positions, like that. Oh, I forgot to show off. He's got these clips on the side of his... Let's just do this real quick. These clips on the side of his shoulders, where you can take this larger gun, these grooves here on the side, you can clip it on to that clip so he can wield the cannon as kind of a shoulder launcher. So yeah, now we'll go back to leg mode, flip that down, flip this up, all the way up, make sure that's engaged here flat, flip these back up, flip this piece back up, it should come all the way in and click in. Not sure why it's not. Why are you being a pain in the patoot? There we go. And then his arms, as I mentioned, you fold them back into where they were. Here at the shoulder, fold his legs down, and then fold them in at this inner hinge so they have just enough room to collapse through on the back. So he's not hollow in the back here in leg mode, even though despite that he has this giant thing hanging off his back in robot mode. And then you take this piece, rotate it to that way. And then the foot, go ahead and pop the PREDAKING fist out of here. You can get it. There is actually a little hole through here. If you're having trouble, you can get like a screwdriver or something and push the fist out. Although, like, when I first opened it, they just fell right out. Take this middle piece, stick it up here, and then clip it between his legs. Come on. I can see you're lined up. Why are you not clipping in? There we go. Clip that on all the way together. And there is a leg mode. And we'll cover more of that in combined mode. We'll set him off to the side for right now. On to Headstrong. And he is very similar to Tantrum. He's got the same leg pieces hanging underneath him. The cannon on the top, which we can take off. Again, the same squares that you can attach into these. His mouth also does not open. Head swivel. Got hinge there at the knee. And he's going to transform, looks like a big chunk. Nice, bright yellow, vibrant red. All these shiny bits are stickers that you have to put on yourself. Actually, the chest tampos on him, Torox, and Razor Claw, they all have some tampos, and all the other Decepticon symbols are also stickers. Yeah, so there he is. And to turn him into a robot, it's the exact same process. We're going to flip these down, fold up his animal legs, flip this whole piece up. Actually, you don't have to flip that whole piece up, but flip the foot out, bring this down, tab the red part into the back of the leg, the back of the shin, I guess I should say. Ankle tilt, all that good stuff. Bring his arms forward at the shoulder. Rotate him down and around. And there you are, you're good to go there. You should have this flat. There's a little tab that tabs into a slot on the back. Turn his head around. And there you go. There he is in robot mode. Same deal, swivel head, ball joint shoulders, ball joint elbows, waist swivel. Although a little limited by the backpack, especially if it's tabbed in, it kind of tends to lock that waist in place, which is kind of useless. They do have big backpacks, although again, less offensive in person than they looked like in some of the earlier pictures I saw. Hips, thighs, again, kind of useless knees, ankle tilt, and a little bit of back and forth. He also has the same thing where you can take either side of this, really. Oh, I guess you want to use this one. What is that pin for? Does this transform more too? Or is that just to hold it together like some of the other stuff? It looks like this should flip out, but nope, it's just holding it together. Okay, whatever. Anyway, this slot right here can go on his shoulder clip. And again, he can also have the big shoulder cannon. And he's exactly the same for leg mode. Flip his beast head up. Bring the whole leg assembly, turn that so the yellow is facing forward. Bring his shoulders back in. Fold the feet down, and again, fold them into this black hinge to sit back there. Rotate the feet back up and tab them into place here on the front of the body. Rotate the beast legs back up. There we go, there's those tabbed in. Flip up the ankle tab and then just clip him onto it. He went on much easier than Torox did, maybe because he's properly named. And again, sticker. Some of these stickers aren't super clear where they go, but you'll see some visual cues. Like, I wasn't sure how to put these stickers on, and then I saw that the angle here on the sticker matches a molded angle up here on the top part. So you'll figure out exactly where you need to stick them. It was actually pretty helpful. Like, it took me a while, but all the stickers actually went on very well, and like the spaces for them are fairly well defined, and they go on pretty easy, which is nice. It's just a lot. There's a lot of them. There he is, all in leg mode, and again, we'll get to him. He's not going to fit in this space when he's all combined. Well, we'll make do. We'll figure something out. And we'll put him off to the side. Oh, we forgot to pop his Predaking fist out. But that's okay, we'll get it. There we go. There we go, it's out. So we'll set that down. Rampage, he is a little red panther here. I don't know what, jaguar or something. Some sort of big predatory cat with a gun butt. You can see his gun forms his tail, which is, I guess, a way to use it. It seems a little silly. He's chunky. His mouth does open and close, so surprise. People. His head can kind of bob up and down a little bit, although his neck doesn't move. It budges right up against his head here in the torso, and he's always kind of hunched like that. His legs have a swivel up here, a hinge here that only goes backwards, and then his feet can move. The back legs have his movable feet. And you can kind of move these, but he's really not stable if you do. They actually click into place in there, and that really holds him up. You can see most of his robot mode legs there, his torso part for Predaking, and then his gun butt. And to transform him, we just pop his gun out, fold his animal mode legs in. You're gonna find that's a common theme. It takes a trick from Double Cross and Repugnus and Grotesque, in that these little side things here now fold under to the bottom of the leg to form his feet. That sticker does not want to stay on. Like that. Lift this up, and you bring this whole torso down. There's a tab here that clips in behind his chest. Like that. You open up the legs, and you kind of combiner wars them out to extend them. Like that. The cat legs, you want to unclip these, pull his arm down, bring it down like that, and then just kind of fold the cat leg up. It snaps in right there like that on the back of his arm. And then you flip out his fist. And that's the arm done. Clip that in, flip out his fist. And then you take his robot mode head, if you can get it. There's a little tab there. Now it does not seem to want to, it'll lock into place, but it's still kind of angled down here. And you can fold his cat head down. And then this piece, you lift it up so the orange is facing forward and rotate it down onto his back, and it's just kind of a backpack. Again, they all have Predaking part backpacks because this forms like the side of Predaking's torso. When you get it all combined. There's a bug on me. Go away, bug. I know we went outside. I had to walk the dog and all the bugs got in. Because it's that time of year. Anyway, and then he can hold his gun. Like I said, his head's always kind of pointing down. I want to see if I can pop it up further, but there's a ridge here, and I don't want to break it. But so he's always kind of looking down a little bit. He's got no paint in his face except from the black eye. Oh, actually he does. It's orange in there. So there is some paint around his eyes and then the black eyes. But swivel head, ball joint shoulders, a little bit more limited because of the shape of everything. He does have ball joint elbows as well as a hinge there at the elbow. No wrist swivel. He does have a waist swivel. The dual direction hips, thigh swivel, knees, which are more effective because they're not blocked by a giant backpack. And he does have some ankle tilt there as well. And turn him into his limb mode. You just hook this up. Actually, you just leave this down, straighten the arms straight out, and then fold the foot up behind it like that. Same on this side, just straighten out his arms, fold his head back down in to there, put his panther head however you want it, up or down, really doesn't matter. Leave this in, and then you just collapse his legs again. And then take his, he's the left fist this time around. You just clip it in between his legs like that. And there he is as an arm. He's got the ratchet there. Again, we'll get more into this when we get to Predaking. He becomes officially canon the left arm of Predaking. You can swap them, but it causes an issue, and we'll get to that again in combined mode. And we'll set this off to the side. This is going to be the front end of his arm rifle. Now on to Dive Bomb. He's probably the biggest of the group. He's got a big old backpack, his cannons, big broad wings, which you have to sticker mercilessly because like all the gold here on the wings. This is paint. Everything else is stickers. The Decepticon logos are stickers. These things are stickers. Every individual feather is a sticker. But what's neat is while the big ones don't have it, every small individual feather has a small little Decepticon logo on it, which is a little overkill for faction branding, but it's there. And there he is from the side. They all have the D75. They all have their old Japanese number callouts on them. The guns on either side here. His head can lift up and down a little bit. You can open his mouth, but then you get the robot mode head. The wings are posable. They don't hinge down very far, but they hinge up, and then they can fold back like he's dive bombing, although it kind of turns him into a big chunk. So yeah, to turn him into a robot, it's very similar to Rampage in that you take these and Combiner Wars, extend them down, flip out his toes and his heels, unpeg the guns from the side here. Make sure his legs, torso stays connected. Bring his arms down, flip out his fist. His fist, fold his bird mode head down and his robot mode head down. And there he is. He's a little back heavy, just a little, although he doesn't have quite the ridiculous backpack that some of the other ones do. At least no more than you really expect from Dive Bomb because he's always had the big wing backpack anyway. So getting him to stand straight can be fun, but you know. And then he can hold both of his guns in his hands as well. So he's got dual rifles here. His head can actually, the whole assembly rotates, which is nice. Ball joint shoulders. No ball joint at the elbow, but it is dual hinged, and there is a swivel there in the middle of the elbow, so you do have some still posability there with him. Waist swivel, hips, thighs, knees, although again his knees kind of get in his backpack kind of gets in the way of his knees as well. Is that a sticker? Yeah, that is also a sticker I had to put on him. Like I said, some of their chest tampos were big chest tampos were tampoed on, but all of these stickers are in fact stickers. Camera's drooping. And to get him ready for arm mode, and this is where it starts to really get interesting in how this whole thing comes together. So you take his whole wing pack and slide it off, much like you would originally, and we'll set this off to the side here. And after this, he's very much like Rampage. Go ahead and flip out his toes, collapse his thighs again. And then here, we're going to close up his robot face and bring his robot bird head down and forward a little bit. These panels fold his arms back up. And then his panels come around, bring them up like this. You'll see they're specifically molded to the shape of his chest, so when you fold them in, you want to make sure that the top of his shoulder is facing what will be his chest when you come around here. And these will tab together. There's a tab on this arm to lock that together. And then his whole waist assembly, actually, you don't want to close these yet because his whole waist assembly comes down and forward. And then there's two little tabs on his waist assembly that also lock it into place when you close these up around it. So make sure those are up. Close it all around it. Rotate his body forward. Actually, this is going to be forward because he's now the right arm. And snap the foot or the hand in between his feet. There we go. Not getting it all lined up right. Come on. There we go. Nope. No, really? Come on. There we go. And again, there's his arm and torso part as an arm. And finally, like I said, probably my favorite of the 5 we get in this set is Razor Claw. He's a lion, as always. He does also have an opening mouth, if you want. He also has an opening head, and you want to be careful. You want to lift up just the yellow part of his head. You can pull the whole thing up for transformation. You can see his robot mode head under there. But if you lift up just the front part of his head, inside here is another matrix holder. But instead of a matrix piece, he has Onyx Prime with his orange and yellow deco, so you know how I feel about that. He transforms into a little tiny robot, which you can pull his arm off if you want to torture him. But yeah, so there he is, just a little tiny Onyx Prime. He stores into what will be the chest cavity of PREDAKING, which is kind of cool. And we'll just put him right back in there. But he stores right behind the lion face. He's got little hinges down here, although, like I said, posability in their animal modes is not super heavy. You can move his legs a little bit, you can move his paws a little bit, but that's about it. He does have a big gun that will become the other part of the rifle. But he's a fun little lion-looking dude. A little weird back here with this stuff going on, but whatever. So we'll take that off. And then to transform him into a robot, untab these side panels here. And then bring his legs down. And you can see you want to fold his lion paws up. And this whole assembly rotates up. The paw folds in here. And then there's a tab on here that's going to tab onto the inside of this panel. So make sure those line up right. You can take a little doing the first time I did it. I was like, why are these not lining up? And it's just kind of the way that the whole hinge assembly works in the leg. There you go. Lock that in place. Same over on this leg. Because you got to bring this up. Fold his lion paw up. And then bright lights are making it hard to see the tab here, so I can't see where it's lined up. Come on, there we go. And then lock that in place. And there's his legs done. His lion head, as we mentioned, you lift it up and it rotated around here. And then tab it back in onto his chest like this. Flip up his robot head, pull his arms around like this. These guns are attached. You lift them up, rotate them, and then flip them around like that onto the shoulder. Rotate his arms so the elbow faces forward. And again, use a little tab here to flip out his robot mode hands. And there he is. He's got a swivel head. You can actually look up and down a little bit because of the hinge, so that's nice. Because it's just, he's not attached to a plate, it's just the hinge on the head there. A nice head sculpt, dual rotational shoulders, bicep swivel, hinge elbows. No waist swivel on him, at least, unless, is it under here? Nope, no waist swivel on him. But he's got the dual direction hips, thigh swivel, hinge knee, and then of course some ankle tilt like all the others. And then he can hold this cannon as a big gun as well. Now to get him ready for combine mode, and here's where we want to bring in Dive Bomb's wing pack, because this is where it starts to get, this is where some really neat stuff happens, even though the overall effect is a little off. So we'll go ahead and, before we do that, we'll go ahead and take Rampage's butt tail and a Razor Claw's gun and plug them together here to form the big cannon. And then Razor Claw, we're going to get mostly back to lion mode. We're going to flip his head down. Actually, I think we want it this way. So bring the lion head back down around to its original starting position. Tab it in. This piece under here flips down. Actually, you want to flip that up first because this will tab in and lock it over that waist piece. You bring his arms down, or I should flip these down, and then you want to have this tab facing up because it's going to lock in back here. So take that and then tab it in. Well, don't tab it in there yet. We're going to do something. So bring his arms down, rotate his guns around, flip his arms, and then make sure this tab here on his forearm is facing upward toward his lion mode. And then back here, unpeg this whole yellow thing. It tabs in on either side here. And then flip out his Predaking head. And then tab this back together up here, and then snap his Predaking head down into place. These will sit back here like this. And now you can take these lion paws and tab them into the bottom there. You can see there's his torso coming together. These legs, I think you can just fold them down as his robot mode legs to fill in the gaps here in when he's combined. But what you want to do is this, flip them kind of back into his lion mode position, and then kind of just leave these hanging down. You can't quite, can you get everything tabbed back in again? Tab, yeah, okay, you can. Tab these back in, because there's a little tab here on the side that's going to be able to peg into the side of the torso, and it just makes it a little bit more solidly secured. Not a lot. I mean, if you'd prefer to have the full leg down to kind of fill the big gap in his underside, and you'll see what I'm talking about here, you can. But so he's going to be basically like this. So you take this, make sure these are locked in. I like that these guns kind of form ab guns here on him. This piece should stay folded forward. Although, again, that's a problematic bit of the transformation. That thing likes to fold up. So there you go. There's Razor Claw's combination of Predaking. Now you take Dive Bomb's backpack, fold the wings up and back like this, take this whole waist assembly and fold it down like this. And there's two panels back here you want to open up. And they will tab kind of into the side here, like they'll tab in. They're not, if you try to pick him up by his waist, they will, which is actually the easiest place to pick him up because it's the thinnest, they will like to squish back in. So bring it up like this, and then take Razor Claw, kind of put his legs down in here, and then he's going to slide in. This piece right here, there's some tabs under here that slot into this. So you want to kind of bring him down forward, and then slide him back, and then this piece will tab in up here, and this whole thing slides back and locks the whole assembly together. And here's where, like I said, here's some of the stuff looks cool. That's kind of neat to give him more of an abdomen here, but also Dive Bomb's tail, and you can do it either direction, rotates. And now this is the middle of his waist. Like the two legs are going to slot in here. And while like I said, while there's some iffy stuff on this, that design is actually pretty cool the way this whole thing goes together. So we'll focus on the torso here quick first, and then we'll snap the legs on, and then we'll see how we can put all this together. So, like I said, Rampage goes here on the right, and there's a slot here on, oh, you got to flip out these extra lion manes here too, and that will free up this slot right here, or tab right here, that's going to slot in to the torso piece. So this piece comes down, see, locks into place, and starts filling in that torso for Predaking. Dive Bomb does the same thing on the other side. Now, like I said, you can, just attaching them, you can flip them either way. The tabs are both here on the front because the wings are going to come up and tab into the tabs on similar tabs on the back. The problem is the way the shoulder cannons attach is by this little, this can also, that didn't break, that this is an extra piece. They shipped separately with these pieces in two separate pieces, but there's no real reason to disconnect this. But anyway, you have to put these together. So you take this, and you take this peg, and the only way they go on is to peg in on the back here. There's two pegs on either edge of the torso pieces where these peg in. And unfortunately, that's why you can't swap Dive Bomb and Tantrum, because the only way, these holes are only on one side of these torso pieces. You could probably swap you might be able to swap these two pieces if you wanted Dive Bomb and Rampage swapped, but it'd be a lot of unscrewing, and then like his orange is designed to be in his beast mode, so it's really not worth the trouble. But and then you can fold the guns down over his shoulder. And then once that's done, these tabs right in here, just to the side of the guns, will tab into slots up here. So you fold the wings up, you may have to angle them back a little bit, and they will tab in right there. And here's where I was talking about making this all a little bit more secure, because there's also a tab here that if you leave these in the lion mode configuration, will tab into here. And it'll just help prevent the wings from popping back like this, because it's very easy to knock them loose at the top if you don't tab in to the leg as well. And then tab that in. There we go. Lift this wing up, extend the wing all the way. And you can, like I said, it's very hollow back here, and you can kind of fold the lion legs in to fill that gap as well. The robot mode legs you can kind of fold in and hide this gap a little better, but the security up here of having all this stuff locked together a little better, he's going to be hollow no matter what. So there is the upper half of Predaking. Now we bring the legs up, and we can go ahead and attach. Also, this cannon, it uses this peg to peg in, not the square peg that was attached to Razor Claw's back with. It only pegs in on Dive Bomb. I do wish we'd have the, like one, I would have liked to have Dive Bomb on the other side just because that's where I traditionally keep him. But you just peg that on. But being able to peg that rifle onto either arm would have been nice too, but only Dive Bomb. You really don't get some of the few combination options that you did have with Predaking with this one. And then you just bring the legs up. Oh God, this is gonna, oh, we might be able to do this. But you just take this, and then this square piece here on the leg slots into either side of that Dive Bomb tail piece. Oh, will you fit? Oh, just barely. So here, I'm going to back up here. He just barely fits in my light ring here. But there he is. Let's see if we can't focus here. There he is, top to bottom. There is Predaking. And he does look pretty cool. He's a little squarish, a little blocky, but kind of a cool dude. Let me see if I can't get this around so I can tilt this up a little bit and focus it. This is, okay, this is, I may just have to steady cam this. I say Steadicam, like quote Steadicam, this to show off his articulation. Let me see if I can get one of these lights forward too to give a little bit more. Look at the front of him, although it's making more shadows. Whatever. Big figures are no fun to film when you're trying to do a video review. So yeah, the cannons angle back, up and down. His head turns side to side. You saw the ratcheting joints at the shoulder in both directions. Here he does have bicep swivel due to the waist swivel of these arms. His fingers do open as one solid piece. And of course, the one combiner that doesn't have pointy fingers. But, or not pointy fingers, the spikes on the hands that a lot of the combiner, the other Power of the Primes combiners have. He's just flat back there. The one place where spikes would have been appropriate. He does have waist swivel here, thanks to the way that tail moves. And like I said, that's where I was talking about. That panel came detached. He is a little skinny here at the waist, but, you know. And then the hips. See if I can do this. The hips, they do rotate forward. I apologize for this. I can't hold the camera and rotate the hips and keep it in frame all at the same time. So we'll just do it down here like this. Lovely shot. What everybody wanted to see. Thank you. I know it's been missing from all the other video reviews, the close-up, underhanded crotch shot. But yeah, so they rotate forward and back here, out to the side. There's the knee hinge there on the robot, and there's a swivel there. So he's actually pretty posable for a combiner, and he does have the ankle tilt due to that hinge that we used earlier. So yeah, just to get a quick size comparison of him, and I realized I didn't do a group robot mode shot. Once we do this, I'll end the video with a quick. Here they all are together in robot mode, since I forgot to do that. But here he is with Leader Optimus. Just to give you an idea of about how big he is. Again, let's refocus here. So Optimus comes up to just about even with his crotch. Here he is with the Abominus. Compared with, so there he is compared with several of the other combiners. Well, not one of the other combiners, but just to give you an idea of how he looks with the other combiners. I've always had a bit of a soft spot in, for PREDAKING, partly because of the orangeness. Probably because he just looked cool. Like he was one of the bigger, bulkier G1 combiners. And so you get Onyx Prime, and not a bad PREDAKING. He's posable. Once you have them all hooked together, aside from like some of these panels coming in and some hollowness, he's pretty secure. I do wish we had the ability to put Dive Bomb and Rampage on either side and not affect the ability to attach the cannons. But I'm getting used to having them swapped from where I usually put them. He does have a skinny waist, but I feel like that's offset by just how well engineered they made Razor Claw. Like this whole torso area is really pretty cool, the way they actually integrated some wider torso bits into the arms themselves, which makes the arms a lot more securely attached to the figure than just pegging them in like a lot of the old combiners did. And the way the whole backpack folds out to become both the wing pack and like a bulkier, more of the torso underneath Razor Claw, is the way that works is really neat. I do wish these panels on the sides tabbed in a little bit more securely so they didn't keep collapsing in every time I try to grab him and pick him up like this, because that really is the easiest way to do it. He's bulky everywhere else, and that's just about the right size to get your hand around. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with him. He's not a lot of stickers, not perfect, but for a mainline PREDAKING, the on a technical level, I'm impressed with a lot of the stuff he does. There are a lot of bits on him that feel thin and plasticky and cheap in a way that I would not want a figure at this price point to feel. And I do wish that maybe the dishwasher's running, yay. I do wish that maybe they had found a way to make a couple of bits of the animal mode maybe a little bit more interesting. But he's a fun dude. There he is, Power of the Primes, PREDAKING, and we'll go get that robot mode shot now. And ignore the dishwasher, but here's a group shot of all of them together. They're very cool. Like I said, I wish they were a little bit more solid. If you ever see one on sale, the PREDAKING set, I think it's absolutely worth it. Full price, it's really up to you to depend on how much you really like the Predacons. There's some fun stuff. There's some really questionable stuff, but all in all, it's a fun little set, and they look nice together as a team. So there are, it's way too bright. So there are the Predacons from Power of the Primes.